My FPL Game Week 17 first transfer plans. Now, some of you might only have one or two transfers left after we got 5 transfers last week, but some of you, like me, might have 3, 4, or 5 transfers sitting in the bank ready to use when you want them. We're going to have a look at my team, what I'm planning with doing with my 4 free transfers that I've got in the bank this week. We'll also talk about the triple captaincy chip. Erling Haaland at home to West Ham. It is currently active in my team, or should I be saving it for another opportunity in either Game Week 18 or Game Week 19? We'll answer some of your early questions like, are the Arsenal defence finally finished? What should you be doing if you have other chips available? Look at my first transfer plans for Game Week 17. What is up, everyone? FPL Harry here. Before we dive in, 2,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new around here. And I know some of you say, Harry, you ask too many questions about your content, but I have been working on a new intro to try and make it look slightly better. I've, over the past sort of couple of months, grown to not love the sort of flat background that I had in the intro. And you may have seen, I looked at it on stream with some of you who were there at the end, and I've now got it in my video. So if you haven't just watched the first 30 seconds, please go and do so, as I've been working on it with the design, and let me know what you think. If there's any improvements you'd like to make or uncertain of it, or whether you really like it, let me know. Now, I'm recording just as the Brentford versus Leeds game is kicking off. I have Thiago in that match, and then of course I have Bruno Fernandes and Semenyo still to play on Monday night. My transfer was Enzo Fernandez out to either Szoboszlai or Semenyo. Enzo Fernandez picked up 3 points and he ended up on 11 DEFCON at the moment. Doesn't look like that's going to change. Szoboszlai also only got 3, and he played some of the game at right back because Joe Gomez picked up an injury, and Szoboszlai might have got injured himself. So unless Semenyo goes and gets injured or misses a penalty on Monday night, then hopefully I made the right choice. But that basically means that at time recording, I don't have an update really on the rank. I am on a small red arrow at the moment, but with 3 players still to play, which is about 1 more than the average player, up to 970 points, including the bonus points that I'm going to get from Erling Haaland. And I think Phil Foden may have just got defensive contributions in that game. So we'll talk more about that once we get to the video and the team selection video on Thursday. I've got 4 free transfers, and with the transfer that I did of Enzo Fernandez to Semenyo, I've got exactly 0.0 in the bank. So just to squash the early transfer questions of should I do Elliot Anderson to Harry Wilson, I don't have the money in the bank to do that as a straight swap. If you have the money in the bank to do that as a straight swap, I'm not loving what I'm seeing from Elliot Anderson at the moment. He's not playing quite as far forward as maybe I'd like, with some of the other wingers like Hudson-Odoi coming into the team who do less defensive work than maybe when it was a Dominguez. He's not getting as far forward. And with Sangare coming back to full fitness and playing alongside him, Anderson is also getting less defensive contributions than he had done over the games previously. So do I wish that I had Harry Wilson in that spot with his 2 assists and his goal in game week 16? Yes, absolutely. But unless I do another transfer to downgrade elsewhere, I don't have the money to do Anderson up to Harry Wilson. Elsewhere in my team, I actually feel quite happy with it going into this week. I've got David Raya and Timber away at Everton along with Saka. I did go with the Saka captaincy in game week 16, and we were so close to winning. Now, Saka did get the second assist, which I think it feels right. He's put in a cross, it's hit the post, and it's ended up in a known goal. It feels fair enough that he gets points for that. But Haaland still scored twice and outscored him. It was only by 2, so it's not a major swing, unlike it has been over the past couple of games. But it is so difficult to go against Erling Haaland at the moment. We'll talk about him in a second, as the eagle-eyed amongst you will see that the triple captain chip is on Erling Haaland at the moment. I've then got Anderson against Anderson, Monday Night Football for game week 17. Anderson versus Anderson, Fulham versus Nottingham Forest, the Anderson derby. Who will come out on top? Both of them were incredibly disappointing in game week 16. Anderson picking up a yellow and conceding twice. Anderson not getting any attacking returns and picking up no defensive contributions against Spurs in what was a great win. So at least he got the clean sheet point. But let's see who comes out on top in that match. Elsewhere on my midfield, Fernandes I'm really happy with still. Let's see how he gets on Monday night. Same with Semenyo. He's got Burnley at home, right? So even if he doesn't do anything against Manchester United on Monday, which he definitely could, I've still got him for Burnley at home next week. And seeing how they defended against Harry Wilson, I'm quite liking that pick still. Phil Foden away at West Ham and Bukayo Saka. I still don't know if Saka is definitely worth the money. And if Cole Palmer continues to score goals, I will have a look at him. But we've also heard from Maresca that Palmer can't play twice a week. He's still getting those early subs and not playing twice a week. So over Christmas, it's definitely not a buy. So we will be keeping Saka. And then up front, it's Thiago. Let's hope he does something in the game today against Leeds. And then it is Erling Haaland. At the moment, I am playing Virgil van Dijk over Richards. Richards goes away to Leeds. I will have a look at how Leeds get on against Brentford today, but Leeds at home, I feel like are a much better side than Leeds away from home. I'll play Timber and I will probably also play Anderson. So it's between Van Dijk, who did keep a clean sheet against Brighton, although quite lucky, or I'll play Richards. At the moment, with all the fatigue, all the injuries that Crystal Palace have got, I've gone with Virgil van Dijk, but it could be Richards. The big thing, of course, is I've got one chip left to play, and Erling Haaland currently has the triple captaincy chip. The other opportunity I have is potentially Bruno Fernandes in game week 19, the final week you've got left to use your chips. Does have Wolves at home, and we know what he did against Wolves last time, but Haaland at home to West Ham, given he's just scored twice again, although his away form seems to be better than his home form over the past couple of weeks, with blanks at home to Sunderland, at home to Leeds, and double-digit returns away at Fulham and away at Crystal Palace, but at home to West Ham, given how they defended against Aston Villa, he currently has the triple captaincy. Now, before we move on, Sunday night is a very busy night for potential price changes. Please, as a reminder, please use Live FPL or the Fantasy Football Scout website. I will link them both in the description again to track your price changes. There's the #1 most accurate site. Now, you can go on it and you can have a look and you can search specific players. If I wanted to have a look at how Semenyo was getting on, as an example, he did actually drop on Saturday night, which is slightly annoying having just bought him. But if you scroll down, you can have a look at sort of the most highly owned players over sort of 1%, scroll up to over 5% ownership, predicted to change in price this tonight. Ekitike potentially going up, Foden, Bruno, Cherki, Thiago in play at the moment, Saka. We also might have rises potentially for Hudson-Odoi, Lacroix might rise, Palmer and Chalobah. The Chelsea defence, joint most clean sheets in the league so far this season. The potential drops, Daniel Munoz, Mateta and Brian Burma. Of course, he is going to the African Cup of Nations. Van de Ven, Kudos, Doku, Minter, and a potential fall for those, as well as Rodon, who is in my team. If you want to go and check that as it gets updated sort of every hour or so, taking into account what transfers are happening, please go and do so, because that might not be accurate by the time you're watching this or by the time this evening comes through. The other thing, I haven't had time today, very busy Christmas weekend with some of my friends, to look at and build a fixture ticker. But on the Fantasy Football Scout members area, if you want to go and check it out, they are still offering 40% off with my link in the description, and an extra 5% off if you use my code. But looking at the overall difficulty for the next 6 weeks, Brentford at the top, Wolves, Bournemouth, Spurs, Everton, Sunderland. If you haven't bought Thiago, it still remains a good opportunity. If you want to go in defence for someone like a Vandenberg, a Collins, although he's on 4 yellow cards and hasn't picked up one yet at home to Leeds, you could also have a look at Kevin Schade back from suspension. Newcastle in next. Some of their better fixtures are a little bit further down the line. It's more defensively that I would be looking at them rather than their attack. City, if you don't have Foden and Haaland yet, I would be going for the double up, but potentially adding a triple up, one of the defenders or another one of the midfielders. Liverpool are also high up there. They do have Wolves at home, Leeds at home, Fulham away, and Burnley at home, all in the next 6. So a very nice run of fixtures for them. I'm happy enough that I've kept onto Virgil van Dijk, and I am still going to keep an eye on Szoboszlai depending on that injury. Quite low down though for Bournemouth. Once that fixture at home to Burnley is out the way, I could keep him for Brentford away, but he is probably a sell if you've got him. Brighton, mixed fixtures. They've got Sunderland at home, West Ham away, Burnley at home, but also City and Arsenal in there. Chelsea fixtures do get tough, so if you're looking to invest in the Chelsea defence, it gets good again from about game week 21, 22, but it's difficult. And I've had a lot of questions about Morgan Rogers. Another double-digit return for him there, but the next 3, United, Chelsea, Arsenal, they've also got Forest, Crystal Palace and Everton. Not bad defences all in the next 6. I don't think now is the time to be investing in Aston Villa. So I know we talk about this a lot in the videos over the past couple of weeks, but of course, game week 19 is the last week you have to use your first half of the season chips. You've got 3 weeks left. Game week 17, 18, 19. If you've still got them left and didn't play them in game week 16, here are the other opportunities to do it. Free hit, it really depends on what your team looks like. There are good opportunities in 17, City at home to West Ham. If you don't have any Bournemouth players at home to Burnley. In game week 18, if you want to free hit to buy triple Liverpool or Van Dijk and Ekitike and another midfielder potentially at home to Wolves is a nice option. If not, just playing it in game week 19. It's a midweek. There might be some rotation over the Christmas period. You can do your best to potentially predict some of that and take a nice few punts that week as well. Triple captain, I do think Haaland at home to West Ham is the best option. My triple captain is active, as I said in the introduction part of this video. But if you don't want to do that, or you're playing another trip this week, Bruno Fernandes at home to Wolves in game week 19 is probably the other option to do it. In terms of the bench boost, I think game week 17 and 18 are much better than game week 19. Of course, all of this is slightly team dependent, depending on what players you've got. I think game week 18 with Burnley hosting Everton and Leeds playing against Sunderland is probably the best week for the likely players who would be on your bench. In game week 17, Burnley travel to Bournemouth, Leeds host Palace, and Sunderland travel to Brighton. These are okay fixtures for those teams, but they're not the best. I think 18 is probably the best week left if you still have the bench boost. And wildcard, if you want to play it in game week 17 or 18, you definitely can if you need it. But I would probably be saving it now until game week 19 to try and target the second half of the season as best as possible. And if you've still got all chips left, triple captain 17, bench boost 18, and then free hit or wildcard in game week 19 would be the best general strategy. Of course, it's slightly team dependent though. So the first thing you've asked me to discuss is, should we consider selling our Arsenal defenders with one clean sheet in the last 6 matches? And Timber didn't even play in that. So Timber hasn't had a clean sheet in the past 6 matches. However, over the course of the season, they are still first for expected goals conceded with just under 10. And actually, the second best is Manchester City with just under 17. There is still a sizable difference between them. They have 8 clean sheets over the course of the season. That is joint with Chelsea, maybe slightly underrepresented or slightly underpicked, the likes of Sanchez and Chalobah, but that doesn't mean that Arsenal defence should be sold. Now, over the last 6 game weeks, things have got slightly worse with just 1 clean sheet in that period, which was at home to Brentford in the midweek round of fixtures, but they are still first for expected goals conceded over that time with just over 4. The slight difference and the big difference towards earlier on in the season is in the last 6, they are the fourth biggest underperformer of expected goals conceded, conceding 7 in that time. So they have not been quite as lucky. They've been a bit more unlucky, and they've conceded chances like the Wolves one, where they still conceded despite not conceding very much expected goals. I would be holding on to your Arsenal defence, particularly if it's even just for Everton away. Everton are likely to be without Dewsbury Hall to an injury. Iliman and Dye going away to AFCON. Jack Grealish also picked up a knock. Their attack is going to be a lot worse going into game week 17 against Arsenal. Saliba came back in. Now, Ben White did pick up an injury, but Calafiori back from suspension. You've got Hincapié, Saliba, and Timber are pretty much full strength back 4 now, apart from Gabriel being there. So it's particularly for Everton, I would be holding on to Arsenal defenders. Afterwards, if you want to come off the double up and don't have 2 of them and maybe just keep 1 of them, I think that's fine, but I would still always want at least 1 Arsenal defender in my team. Now, if you are looking to jump off an Arsenal defender or make a defensive transfer, the one I would probably look at most is Manchester City. Now, they were quite fortunate to keep a clean sheet against Crystal Palace in game week 16, but they are now second in the league for clean sheets, just behind Chelsea and Arsenal, who are joint first. They're also second in the league for expected goals conceded, so their clean sheets are grounded in good data. And now they are top of the fixture ticker for the next 6 game weeks, with West Ham at home starting them in game week 17. Looking at some of their defenders, the 4 you've really got are O'Reilly, Núñez, Gvardiol, and Diaz, and they are ranked there in order for you. I think Diaz is the worst, the least goal threat. There's no DEFCON there, so you're literally paying 5.6 for clean sheets. Next up is Gvardiol. I think he's probably slightly better than Núñez, but not 0.6 million difference between them. Gvardiol did get DEFCON in game week 16. He has some attacking threat from set pieces, but I'm not sure it's definitely worth the money. The only thing I would say is Gvardiol is going to play pretty much every game, and Núñez might not. So if you just want the security of minutes, then Gvardiol goes above Núñez. But number 1 has to be O'Reilly, and because he's cheaper than the others, I probably would go there unless you want to pick a differential in the likes of Núñez or in the likes of Gvardiol. O'Reilly was one-off defensive contributions that might even get updated. He put Savinho through, who won the penalty. If Savinho would have scored, he'd have got the assist for that. He looks very nailed with Ait Nouri going away to the African Cup of Nations. He's 5.3 million. If you're looking for a defender to buy this week and you have the money, he is probably my number 1 target for you. Now, Bryan Mbeumo is one of the most highly owned midfielders. A lot of people sold him going into game week 16, and we actually don't know if he's going to play on Monday night. We've got the Bournemouth at home fixture that you can see there in game week 16, and after that, Villa away, Newcastle at home, Wolves at home, Leeds away, but he is going to AFCON. We don't actually know if he's going to play. Manchester United have basically said they're not going to announce it about whether their players who've been called up to AFCON on Monday are going to be able to feature in that game at home to Bournemouth, because Monday is the day officially they have to travel to their national team. So they might be called up before that game. But in game week 17, if you are looking to sell Mbeumo, my top replacement, if you don't own Bruno and you don't own Phil Foden, they should be the top 2. To be honest, Foden probably top based off the fixture that they've got this week. But if you've got them and you're looking for someone else, Matheus Cunha at Manchester United, let's see how they get on Monday night, is a potential differential shout. A nice long-term hold if he continues to get chances, and with Mbeumo going, his minutes should go up. But outside of that, Semenyo is a nice buy at home to Burnley this week. Bruno Guimaraes did blank away at Sunderland, but now has a home fixture at home to Chelsea. Just go cheap with Harry Wilson after his 2 assists and his goal this week. And actually, he's much cheaper than most of the others we've got here. Minter, I don't mind. The upcoming fixtures still look pretty good, but I think Harry Wilson is better at a slightly cheaper price. Declan Rice, if you don't have a triple up on Arsenal, you could punt on a third Manchester City in the likes of Cherki at home to West Ham this week, or potentially go to Szoboszlai. However, Szoboszlai did pick up a potential knock, so keep an eye on that. He is also on 4 yellow cards, but he does have Spurs, Wolves and Leeds in the next 3. So if he was cleared to be okay, there is a rumour of a 2-week injury though, he would be one to consider. But I think Foden, Bruno, maybe Cunha, Semenyo and Harry Wilson are probably my top 5 to buy. And then finally, we're looking up front. And if you've got someone like a Voltemada, or you're looking to play 3 up front and you're looking to make a transfer there, where would I really be looking? The top 5 that I've got here are Jared Bowen. The only issue with him is he goes away to Manchester City this week. But from game week 18 onwards, their fixtures for West Ham are incredible. And he ended the end of last season as one of the best picks in all of FPL. Now, he is a forward now, so he doesn't get quite as much for his goals and doesn't get any clean sheet points if West Ham are to keep any. But I still like him a lot at 7.5 if you can stretch to it. In game week 18, I am wondering about doing a double swap of selling Semenyo to a cheap midfielder like Potts and upgrading Mark Guiu all the way to Jared Bowen. Outside of that, if you can take the luxury punt on Ekitike at Liverpool, he is up to 8.5 million now though, but he looks nailed. He looks like he wants to score goals and he looks like their main goal threat at the moment. Danny Welbeck, the short-term fixtures are not bad. His minutes are slightly unreliable though, so that would probably put me off him. And then just a couple of punts. Barry at Everton. Now, from game week 18 onwards, the Everton fixtures look pretty good. I don't expect them to score loads of goals, but could be an interesting punt at 5.7. Or, of course, just go down to Mark Guiu and play a 3-5-2, which is still probably my favourite formation at the moment. And then just back to my team. So as I said, with no real money in the bank to do an upgrade for someone like an Elliot Anderson or potentially one of my defenders to O'Reilly, I think I'm just going to roll my transfer going into game week 17. Anderson to Harry Wilson would be great, but I don't want to use another transfer freeing up the money. Like I could do like a Virgil van Dijk or a Timber to O'Reilly and upgrade Anderson. That is something I might consider, but I don't think it's worth 2 transfers. So the plan is to roll the 4 transfers to have 5 for game week 18 and then probably look to downgrade Semenyo, as he was probably just a 2-week punt, to either someone like Szoboszlai or to a really cheap midfielder in order to get a better forward in the likes of Jared Bowen in for their nice run of fixtures. And then, of course, it's just deciding between Van Dijk or Richards. Let me know which of those you'd start in the comments. And then, yeah, triple captain. There's a small chance that I delay it until Bruno at home to Wolves in game week 19 if Man United look great on Monday night, or if Haaland played loads of minutes or picked up a knock in the cup game midweek. But I don't think that's going to happen. Haaland triple captain at home to West Ham was always the plan. This is the week and he has got the triple captain. We're going to wrap it up there. Try and keep this video as short as possible. 2,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you are new. If you've got questions about game week 17 and onwards, about your team that's not answered in this, that you want to be discussed later on in the week in Transfer Targets, the complete guide, specific players, transfer combinations, teams to discuss, let me know all in the comment section down below and I'll be back again very soon.